and they work for us. Their job is to carry out the laws that we make. But a majority of this House apparently ran for office on the claim that the federal government isn't working. And now that they've been elected, they're trying to prove it by threatening and accusing and thus demoralizing the dedicated public servants that have fought our wars, built our roads and bridges, enforced our laws, invented the technology that powers our economy, and researched the treatments that heal and save our loved ones. And all this Congress can do is to threaten them with bills like this. This is not a fair bill. And thus I urge a no vote on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from California is recognized.
I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Utah.
This bill doesn't threaten the federal employees. It only threatens the federal employees that don't pay their federal taxes. You pay your taxes because you get your income from the taxpayers. It doesn't affect you. You know, what I hear continually, Mr. Speaker, is, oh, no problem here, don't worry about it. It's $1 billion in uncollected taxes. For far too long, this Congress has ignored they keep giving contractors contracts to the tune of $5 billion a year. I introduced that bill as well. So to suggest, Mr. Speaker, that this bill is unfair, it's unwarranted, it's going to harm federal employees, it's going to protect federal employees. Because the ones that are doing the right job, that aren't patriotic, are protected under this bill. Only those who thumb their nose and won't pay their taxes are the ones who should be scared of this bill. Yield back.
The gentleman from California reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized for 15 seconds.
Oh, the 15 seconds to the gentleman from Virginia.
The problem with this bill is that it singles out federal employees by threatening and accusing them, suggesting that there is an endemic problem within the federal workforce.
Will the gentleman yield?
And there isn't.
Will the gentleman yield? There's
The gentleman's time has expired.
I'm more than happy if we have the time.
The gentleman's time has expired. All time having expired for the gentleman from California is recognized.
I yield 10 seconds to the gentleman from Utah.
There's 107,000 people that haven't paid about $1 billion in taxes. To suggest there isn't a problem is, I think, factually without merit.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
How much time do I have remaining?
The gentleman from California has 3¼ minutes.
I yield myself 3¼ minutes to close.
The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to close on a little bit quieter note than the debate. The debate was rightfully so heated. And it was heated because, in fact, we're making an important symbolic statement in this legislation. The $1 billion is a lot of money to the taxpayers listening, but the principle here is extremely important. It's a principle that shows that when the IRS changed their rules, they didn't fire very many people. I'm sure, in fact, what they got was compliance, far greater compliance. But let's go through a few things, because the gentlelady, my colleague and friend from California, Ms. Spear, used a larger number. And the larger numbers, in fact, are worth using in closing. We've been talking up until now about $3 billion, 2.976. That, in fact, is about the civilian employees of the federal government. They have a delinquency rate of approximately 3.62%. She mentioned other individuals, and I want to mention in closing their delinquency rate. Civilian retired. Understand, these are not individuals you can fire, they're retired, but their delinquency rate is 2.5%. Military active duty. These are the men and women who have a different set of rules. They can be court-martialed if they don't live up to their obligations. 2%. Remember, that 2% includes all those who may eventually comply. Military reserve and guard, the men and women who give up their day jobs, often taking a huge pay cut in doing so, and unanticipated, 2.4%. Military retired, 4.3%. Mr. Speaker, I can't account for why, when military people retire, they find themselves serious in arrear in taxes. What I can say is, when we look at 1% at the IRS, and 2% for those men and women getting a private's pay or a corporal's pay, they manage to keep their taxes straight. The federal workforce has a high compliance rate. As been said repeatedly by my colleagues, their compliance rate is nearly twice the rate of the public as a whole. Of course, the public as a whole includes over 7% unemployment. It includes all kinds of other characteristics that lead to people being in default. What we're doing here today is saying the IRS made a decision to have a compliance standard that has dramatically reduced it, failure to comply, and has put us in a situation in which people of the IRS can say proudly, we pay our taxes, and we pay our taxes at a 99% rate, and we deal with those who do not live up to promising to pay the rest. We just want the same for the federal workforce, and I believe federal workers listening here today would agree that, in fact, since most of them do exactly what's right, all of them should be held to do what is exactly right. I urge passage of the bill and yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 249? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed.
Mr. Speaker,
the gentleman from California.
on that I ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of taking this vote by the yeas and nays will rise or remain standing until counted. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this motion will be postponed. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, proceedings will resume on motions to suspend the rules previously postponed. Votes will be taken in the following order: H.R. 1162 by the yeas and nays, H.R. 882 by the yeas and nays, and H.R. 249 by the yeas and nays. The first electronic vote will be conducted as a 15-minute vote. Remaining electronic votes will be conducted as 5-minute votes. The unfinished business is the vote on the motion of the gentleman from California, Mr. Issa, to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 1162 as amended, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 1162, a bill to amend Title 31 United States Code to make improvements in the Government Accountability Office.
The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill as amended? Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.